Welcome to Beyond the F, a podcast about nothing and everything all at once. I'm Kat of Glow of You.
And I'm Phil.
And these are the monotone musings of two idiot lovers.
And we're back. Welcome back. It is Saturday. We were going to record last night and then we didn't. I think that was a good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels good today.
I like it.
Thank you all for listening so far. This is our 8th episode.
I can't believe it. No, I can't.
2 months of this podcast. So if you've listened this far, thank you. The analytics are looking encouraging.
We love it. Yeah. We love to see it.
We do love to see it. So we had quite the interesting day today. We typically like to get hyped up on coffee before we come in and record. And let's just say it didn't quite happen how we were hoping.
As you would say, the vibes were off.
A little bit. So we talked about, just last week, we talked about elements to a good experience in a place, right? Specifically in grocery stores, but also like movie theaters and any sort of establishment in which you go into and hang out for any period of time. And the coffee shop just didn't hit today. We got to be honest.
And I'm sad about it because it's truly my favorite in Birmingham.
It is. And it's normally great. We've been in there, 2 other times? And typically it is ice cold. It's ice cold in there.
Yeah.
So much so you were uncomfortable. I guess it was 2 times ago you were really uncomfortable.
Yes, because I didn't bring a sweater. And then last time it felt perfect. Like I didn't need a sweater. But this time it was so hot. Which
unfortunately,
obviously they can't control. Yeah.
The AC was down. But that's a little bit of a hindrance, especially when it's 99 outside. Feels like
literally
107.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the drinks were a little sweaty. Also, coffee, it wasn't on its game today.
I know.
I don't know if it was sweating a little too much too. It was feeling a little overworked.
It was like burnt. It had a very off taste, like an off aftertaste that's not usually there because their coffee, I've talked about this before, their coffee is always so consistent. Mm-hmm. But it was just an off day all around. And it happens.
It does happen. It's
just so disappointing when that does happen, when you're like really looking forward to something and you're like, oh, I've been waiting for this like all day or really all week for me.
Yeah, we really look forward to our coffee shop trip.
Yeah.
We usually stay for like 2 hours. Were we in there 45 minutes today?
I think we were there for like an hour. But it just was not the vibe from the very beginning. And then, no offense to her, but the lady next to us was down a rabbit hole about like Dr. Seuss conspiracy theory. I was like, what is happening right now?
Quite exuberant about them.
Yeah. And she's like collecting all the books and like is making sure they're like not counterfeit or something. I don't know. It was strange.
I guess you do you over there.
Absolutely.
But we were all sweating it out together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But you made us a great lunch, though.
Oh,
you really picked it back up.
I was trying to get the vibes to where they needed to be because yesterday I told you like every meal that I had was horrible.
Yeah, you had a rough meal day yesterday. I did.
Like everything I ate, I was just like, I am so disappointed. And that carried on into today.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I know. Well, breakfast today was great because we went to Whataburger.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to make sure something hits today.
And it had been a long time since you had the honey butter chicken biscuit.
Like 4 or 5 months, probably. Mm-hmm. I only get to have, before we didn't live anywhere with the Whataburger, so I'd only get them like maybe once a year. But I've had them a couple times since we've lived here, but it's been several months since I cut back on like gluten and sugar. Mm-hmm. But boy, did it hit today. It was spectacular. Thank God.
Yeah. And then lunch, much improved from yesterday as well.
Yeah.
You made us some colored wrapped sandwiches or something like that. I don't know what you would call them.
Basically.
They were new to me.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So just like really a deli sandwich, but instead of bread.
We did collard greens.
Yeah.
It was really good. Very fresh.
Very fibrous.
Keto approved.
Yes. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about a number of things.
Yeah, I'm like, where should I start?
Beginning with relationship recidivism.
Yes.
This is a topic that you brought forward to the table.
I did.
So why don't you explain a little bit about what you mean when you're talking about relationship recidivism?
Basically, when you get back together with a previous partner, does it work? How does it normally go? Is it sustainable? Is it a good idea to take a break? Or should you just like cut your losses, basically?
Mm-hmm. Now, is this something that you wanted to talk about because you're prepping me for something, or
absolutely not?
And also, we don't have experience. Like together, we don't have experience with this.
No, but I have a lot of previous experience with this. But I was asking you, you've never broken up with someone and gotten back together with them?
No.
Really?
No.
I feel like that is rare, especially when you're in, I guess, like a long-term relationship. Maybe that's why you've never experienced that. I mean,
before you, my longest relationship was 4 months.
So. Okay. And we're going on what, 7 years?
Yeah.
6 years. Okay. Well, I've dated several people for longer than 4 months. I dated a couple other people for longer than like a year or so. And I would say every other person that I've dated, we broke up and got back together at some point. Yeah. So I think it's pretty common. At this point in my life, like even if we weren't together, I wouldn't like necessarily recommend it for myself. Like I don't think I would want to do it because I'm like, if we can't work through whatever it is together, then I don't really want to like re-explore.
Do you think, and I mean, this might just be down to the individual and how they process things and everything. Do you think that that's because that now that you're in your 30s, you kind of, number one, know a little bit better about what you want, but then number two, is it that at this point, once you sort of make a decision and also you kind of have a little bit of clarity and perspective on something, you just don't want to retread old things, old red flags?
Both. And I feel so much more together myself, like in my 30s, than I did at any point in my 20s. So I'm like, okay, I want someone who matches that energy. You know, so I wouldn't want to be with someone who's like, hey, maybe we should take a break. It's like kind of wishy-washy. Like I've got shit going on. I'm like,
back and forth.
Like if we can't work through this together at this juncture, like maybe it's not for me. But that's not to say that it can't work. Like I know a lot of people who they were together and then maybe a couple years go by and then they like reconnect, or maybe they were like dated in college and then they broke up and they dated other people and then like they reunite and it works out and they get married and they're happy.
Yeah. When we were talking about this the other night, I feel like we were trying to brainstorm like what are the elements that it would take for it to work, for it to be successful. So I definitely think it's number one, all about how things ended initially, right?
Sure.
Because
was it like a toxic breakup?
If it was super toxic. And also, amicable? What was the reason for the breakup? You know, if it was something that one person did that was so hurtful.
Yeah, I feel like it needs to be more mutual.
Right. If it's a maybe like a communication based thing where maybe you're just not jiving anymore as much, and then it's not that anyone did anything wrong. It just kind of broke down.
Timing.
It definitely could be timing. It could be a maturity level. It could be like a finding yourself thing. So I think
feel like a lot of times, especially in your 20s, like you just don't have your shit together and you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like you don't really know who you are. And especially if you're trying to like build your career.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning, like you could be working really long hours and maybe your partner is too, and you just don't get to spend enough time together really. So I feel like that can contribute. But I mean, I think it can work, but it just, like you said, depends. And I feel like it's almost better that if you're breaking up, you have like a clean break.
Right. So not something that like you took a break, but you stayed in touch for a few weeks. Now you try it again. Like, you're saying just like completely break up for an extended period of time. Yes.
And it's kind of like a don't ask, don't tell thing, because if you're still like talking to this person and you're still involved with them, maybe you're still seeing each other, but they're also seeing other people. And I think that just, and maybe you're also seeing other people, that just gets really complicated. But whereas if you're like, okay, we need to take a break, but you both actually mean that, and it's not just an excuse to like fuck around or whatever, then you can both take time to yourselves and like grow and then get back together later on healthier terms. But I'd say the other situation is where it gets more complicated and can be more hurtful in the end. And I've been on both sides of this.
Especially if at the beginning of the break or like at the when you're maybe talking about the break, if everything's not agreed upon, right? So like there's
Ross and Rachel.
Exactly. Yeah, the classic example of what one party understood versus what the other one understood, or
and I feel like sometimes like people will say, hey, we need to take a break just to kind of like ease the other person into it, but really they just want to break up. So I feel like it's always best to go into a breakup expecting you won't get back together.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you're like, oh, we need to take a break, I would be like, okay, this person just wants to break up.
Well, because in a way, it's not just that you're kind of towing the other person along. You're kind of like towing yourself along, you know? You're kind of...
because you're like, oh, am I allowed to do this? What should I do? Should I just like wait around? No, I say just go live your life. And if your paths are supposed to cross again, they will.
Yeah.
And I've had that happen where it works out and the relationship does get better. But I've had it happen the other way too, where it's like, oh, I wish I had just stayed broken up with this person and never like gotten back together with them ever.
And if you're in a situation where like you feel like you need some perspective in the relationship, you really do need to take a step back. Like if things are bad enough that you're not all in, right?
Yeah, you owe that to yourself and the other person.
You definitely do owe it to yourself most of all. And actually, like you're saying, actually having a clean break from something to take a true step back instead of like a halfway thing where you're still emotionally tethered to the other person.
Right. And so possibly physically.
Physically. And so that really clouds any sort of objective judgment that you can have.
And then how are you going to work on yourself if you're still worried about them?
How can either of you develop? Which is, if you want this to work long term, if that's really the point, you really need to create an environment where that's actually possible.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, you clean break enough that you grow, and then when you check back in, you see that the other person hasn't taken the opportunity to grow and they're just not going to. That's good too. That's an answer that this wasn't meant to work, or it shouldn't mean to work. And that's good too, you know?
Yeah, so. I absolutely agree. Does this kind of remind you of any TV couples we've seen lately?
Yes, specifically movie couples. I don't. Well, you mentioned TV. Are you talking about As Complicated, or?
I'm talking about Sex and the City.
Oh,
and just like that,
right? Yeah, I guess this has sort of been a theme.
Especially for Carrie.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
So obviously, like she and Big were so off and on the whole Sex and the City series, and now she and Aiden were too, and just like that. Kind of the same situation. Sorry if you haven't seen the finale yet. Spoilers ahead. But now he's asking her to wait 5 years. Are you kidding me?
That's
a long ass time.
Incredible. That's an incredible ask.
I would be like, yeah, goodbye forever.
And incredible as in like
I would rather date Big's ghost than have to deal with a man's audacity to ask me that.
That is audacious. What Definitely. An audacious ask, especially
wearing that coat.
He wasn't wearing the coat, thank God. But especially at that stage in their lives.
Yeah, like they're not spring chickens anymore.
No, and this isn't an ageist comment at all. I just mean like you're in that stage of your life where it's not like 5 years is nothing anymore. When you're 18 and you're talking about like 18 to 23, okay, but like those are fantastic years for Carrie, right?
I feel like 5 years is 5 years. Like I feel like it's such a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time.
I know, and I know the older you get at least for me, the faster time moves.
Yeah.
But still, like, that's 5 years with, I mean, allegedly the love of your life or one of the loves of your life. Like, if you really love someone, like, would you ask them to do that?
We have been together for 7, like, really like 6 and 10 months or so, 6 and 8 months or something like that. That's almost the entirety of our relationship that we've known each other and have dated.
Yeah.
That's such a long time. Like, it feels like we've experienced so many things, done so many things. And yeah, you're just like, hey, just wait for me. 5 years. That's
and like, what are the rules? Like, is she allowed to date? Is he dating? Like, what's the point in this?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
And good for her though. Like, they had the whole releasing expectations thing. Like, that's what so I mean, I'm glad that mentally she was kind of prepared for that, or she's like in a better place. But to me, that's a perfect example of Aiden being very selfish. And if you've seen the episode, you'll understand. But without spoiling anything, like, he has some issues that he can't really control.
You can spoil it.
Okay, like, I mean, his kids. He's having trouble with his kid. His youngest kid. So I get that. Like, you've got responsibilities as a father, and he feels
like we don't have kids, so we don't like fully understand that.
We can't really relate. But like, I get that as a concept. But if you've got to deal with that, you've got to deal with that. And don't bring Carrie into that. You know, and especially whenever she, up to this point, she's been so all in on this get back together, and you've been all in, kind of.
Allegedly. Claimed to be all in.
You've claimed to be all in, but she's actually made way more sacrifices this time around than he has. And I get some of that was because of the trauma that he had because of the past relationship, which was, some of that trauma was on her and her decisions. But still, like, he's kind of been a little selfish, in my opinion, the whole time, with making her concede so much. And she made the ultimate concession with getting rid of the apartment, which was metaphorically a big deal. And then for him to make that ask of her, it's just like, again, man, like, if you need to go take care of that, you got to let Carrie go, you know? And I mean,
don't ask her to wait. It's tacky.
It's really tacky.
It's tacky. I couldn't believe that. Like, I could tell, like, the writing was on the wall. The other shoe was about to drop, obviously.
I mean, whenever he came into the apartment, which he said he would never do, like, I mean, obviously.
Before that, I just knew, the vibes. But, yeah, hated it.
Yeah, that was awful. But, I mean, that's sort of been the story of Carrie, though. Like you said, I mean, even dating back to the original show.
Why is she such a tragic character? Isn't that sad?
She continued to go into these traumatic cycles with her relationships. And I feel like Big's a great example of, like, there was never, in my opinion, a clean enough break that they were able to grow past one another, which is, I think, ultimately, I mean, it's easier to say now, like, on the end, like, there's been some shit with the actor, you know, so, like, it kind of colors how you picture Big. But anyway, like, as characters, though, back in the show, like, they were very toxic.
Oh, absolutely.
Up until the very end. And, like, I feel like the first episode of And Just Like That tried to sort of paint this happily ever after aspect to them, but that's honestly not really true to who the characters were. I mean, even through the second movie, they had terrible communication. He was never good at, like, seeing her perspective on things.
No,
it was always about him.
Was always kind of left longing for the stability of Aiden.
Yeah.
So my advice to her is, like, stop getting back together with your exes. Like, relationship recidivism maybe isn't the path that she needs to go down. Maybe meet someone new.
Well,
it's never too late.
And I think you had seen this. I can't remember if it was on Instagram or something, but the comment about how she's Aiden's big.
Yes.
It was mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
And
So true.
whoever made that comment, props to them. That was an incredible insight.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
The psychology of these characters, because I mean that's another like point to what you were saying. Like, just she needs a new batch. Now, unfortunately, the writers never gave her a great new batch.
Yeah.
You know, whenever you're dealing with Burger and you know, a tortured European artist, like those are the alternatives.
Oh, yeah.
You know, maybe that we know why she's coming back to
Justin Theroux a few times.
Yeah,
It's different characters.
2 different characters.
Yeah.
I mean, Carrie, man, the tragic relationships.
I know, and I just want to win for her, because obviously she's very flawed, but I think that that's what makes her so relatable. Like, I have flaws. Do you? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Everyone, like,
she's an everyman.
Yeah.
I mean,
everyone always shits on her, but I'm just like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she's realistic.
Yeah. What do you think about the other relationships on And Just Like That?
Okay.
Like where Charlotte and
Henry.
Yeah.
I think they're perfect.
Yeah.
I think they're great. They have made him a little annoying, I feel like, on And Just Like That. But I still think that they're the most solid one, obviously. I have never liked any of the choices since, what was it, the first movie that they've done with Steve and Miranda.
Yeah.
Ever since they made him cheat on her, like, I haven't trusted the writing for them. So
that has consistently been a thing that we harp on. Because again, I think the thing that was so special about the original show is that these characters feel so real. And it goes to like them being flawed and complicated in all the situations that the writers put them in. But like, you can't tell me that the way that Steve was about Miranda throughout the show, he just ups and does that.
Yeah, no, it was
felt
unbelievable.
So forced.
Yeah,
you needed some sort of conflict for them, because they had several off and ons in the show. So they had already gone through this arc, and it felt like you got to the movie and you needed some sort of conflict.
And I mean, I get why they did it, but I just feel like it was so out of character.
It was. And then, I don't love what they've done with Steve. Even it feels like the writers just hate Steve.
I know.
They've hated him ever since the original show.
Yeah.
He's like a punching bag.
I know. I'm rooting for Steve. Like, I feel bad for him. I feel like that.
Yeah.
And I finally feel like they're getting like Miranda's writing back on track. I feel like season 1 was an absolute nightmare for her.
Yeah.
And I didn't love her and Che together. I don't think I'm alone in this. But I like them so much better apart. Like, I like Che so much better now that they're single. So
yeah, I mean, then that was one of the first things that we said whenever the season ended the other night. And I was like, you know what? They really turned it around, because through the first like 3 episodes of season 2, I kind of had the same feeling as season 1, which was like, this has a lot of potential, but it feels like the writing is just really is not getting where it needs to go. And the moment that Che and Miranda broke up, I feel like the show really started flying, because they really nailed both of those characters apart.
Yeah,
because they're both really good characters, but together just didn't work. It just didn't work.
Yeah,
in my opinion, because I loved everything that they did with Che after that. Like the whole finding themselves, having to sort of rediscover what their relationship is with comedy and what they want to do as a career and as a person. I think that was a fantastic arc after. But like the Miranda thing was just so it seemed so forced. So yeah, I'm super glad that they seem to have turned a corner with her writing too. Yeah. So let's cross fingers for. I assume there's going to be a season 3.
And I love LTW. What is her husband's name? I literally can never remember his name.
I don't know.
I don't know either, but I don't love him.
No.
You know what I mean?
No. And I can't tell if that's a writing thing.
Yeah.
Either like it's an inconsistent thing.
Yeah.
But he can go from being, at least verbally, he'll be kind of supportive and like, hey, I really want you to flourish and be this powerful woman. But then immediately, like in
He's like,
one
where's
sentence
dinner?
later, yes, he turns back into this like 1950s like patriarchal husband.
I know.
And I'm like, what do you
I'm
want
like, can you
us?
just
How do
be
you want us
down
to
for your
feel?
girl? Like,
And again, I'm all for complex characters and like
Yeah.
complicated characters. And if he was like really loving and supportive, but having these like old ideals, but it's just so like jarring sometimes because they go from one
and
extreme
I
to
feel
the
like
other.
they haven't really given him like a personality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
Yeah. I feel like they've, well, I agree though that they've made Charlotte's husband, and I can't remember his name either.
Henry.
Henry? That's
Wait,
his
is
name?
that the dog? Is that the dog's name?
Yeah, you said Henry earlier, and I was like, is that his name?
What is his name? Harry.
Harry, yes. Yeah.
Henry's the dog.
Henry's the dog, okay. Yeah,
That's
so
funny.
here I agree that they've made him annoying, but I feel like it's at least a little bit more of a subtle hand with like, it is so clear that he's loving and supportive towards Charlotte. But
And I feel like we know him, obviously, because we know him from Sex and the City.
That's totally fair. We've had way more screen time with him to know like he really does love Charlotte. But they've done, I think, a little bit better job of like showing that like he's so loving and supportive, but he's still kind of boxed in by some of these traditional family ideals of like she's just going to take care of the household. Right?
Yes.
So that has been an interesting. The execution of that has been, and this is kind of, and just like that in general, the execution's a little sloppy, but I at least think that that's better.
I don't like any of the writing for the men though.
Yeah. Do you think that that's like,
they're just like an afterthought basically?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it could be that. It could be that, but also they're trying so hard, which I'm all for. They're trying so hard to show like the powerful woman dynamic that they're whether intentionally or not, they're kind of making all the men a little dumb.
Yeah, it's just like what I appreciated about Platonic is I don't know any of the characters' names on that either. I just can't keep track. Yeah. But Rose Byrne's husband on that, whatever his name was, they gave him a personality.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I appreciated about that. I feel like on And Just Like That, men are just like accessories.
Yeah. I think it just is a poor writing thing versus like good writing.
Right.
Because I mean, even some of the portrayals of the women on And Just Like That can be a little sloppy at times. And I think that's the thing. Like you bring up Platonic as an example. I think that's good. But I mean, I think even just going back to the original Sex and the City, the writing across the board was just a lot better because you got nasty guys. You got guys that, were dumb, but that it felt more authentic. It didn't feel tropey. It didn't feel like a caricature. And I feel like that really is my big problem is that you have these guys that we learned about in the original show and now they just feel like shells of themselves. And I don't know if it's because we've passed off to different writers and so they have a different like interpretation or I don't know. It just feels a little caricature-y,
Yeah.
And again, I think Charlotte had sort of this problem as well. Because I mean, they're obviously trying to do very different things in very different stages of these characters' lives. And it's been handled a little sloppily.
Yeah. Well, I just feel like they took Harry's character and like copied and pasted it over to this other man.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they're like, let's just change a few things.
Yeah, he's just going to be, Harry
2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they didn't even ramp up like, oh, he loves his wife that much. They took out every like likable aspect of him. And so it's just like, I need more personality.
Again, because I think that's where time helped Harry was you had time to develop him. That being said, though, we've had 2 seasons with this guy.
Yeah.
And they just really haven't done anything. Again, it's a writing problem. It's a writing problem, which I think every sort of negative feeling that I have of the show comes back to that. But I do want to reiterate that last 3/4 of this season, I thought were really good. I felt like they really sort of hit a stride for the most part because while some of the characters are still a little bit messy, like the theme of the show, or like the feeling of the show, seems to have found a footing, which I feel like we were really waffling through the first season and the first couple of episodes of like, what is this show?
Like
Is
you
it,
couldn't really get the vibe for it.
Yeah.
Like, what are they trying to do here?
Is it dramatic?
Is it funny?
Is it a comedy?
Yeah.
Is it heartwarming? Like, we just didn't know what we wanted to be. Because, like, if you were to just play, like, I haven't seen Sex and the City, and I don't watch any of the rest of the show, and just like that, and you show me, like, the first episode of season 1 of And Just Like That, it's a drama. It is really sad.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and everything's serious. The tone is very serious. First couple of episodes, like through, and I can't remember if it was episode 2 or 3, but through like the funeral, it's a drama. And then it's almost like they swung so far the other way and trying to make it like a comedy maybe, and it just felt inconsistent. But it felt like they really, from the music to like the scenarios, 3/4 of season 2 has been great. Perspective.
Yeah. How do you feel about like the Anthony Stanford breakup and how they made him kind of exit the show? Obviously, the actor passed away.
Yes. Yeah. And R.I.P. Because
I know.
Talk about like a legend.
Absolutely.
For anyone who's seen the original Sex and the City.
Oh yeah. Love him.
It's interesting because I almost feel like, and I'm trying to remember when they got together. Did they get together in the show? Did they get together in one of the movies? I just can't remember.
It started on the show.
It was in the show. I don't necessarily think that it's outside of his character to do what he did, you know, for them to grow apart. And I mean, the way that they sort of tied it in, I guess it was in the finale where obviously Anthony he's had trouble moving on. And so for them to give the Stanley character that like letter, Stanford, that letter to send back, and that to kind of be the thing to resolve some things in Anthony. I think that was okay.
Kind of giving him closure a little bit.
Yeah. And I also think since Big died, I personally think that Stanley not dying is a good thing.
Stanley?
Yeah, why do I keep doing that?
He calls him Stanley a lot.
Okay. But Stanford? I'm just bad at character names.
I know, I am
nothing
too.
Against these individual characters.
Yeah, no. I mean, they obviously from the very beginning had like a will they, won't they kind of relationship. Yeah. Like they didn't like each other at the beginning. And so it was always kind of back and forth, and we really didn't know like where it was going to land. But I think they really like grew together over the years, obviously. And so you're kind of like rooting for them. If
you were to ask me like which couple would break up, I mean, I would say that that's not unrealistic for them to break up.
Yeah, I agree.
And I mean, like I felt like Steve and Miranda, because of everything that took them where they were. Again, in the first movie, Steve cheating and like them breaking up, that felt out of place. Especially at that time. Yeah. Now, I mean, like Carrie and Big breaking up, I would have also guessed that. Because again, I feel like if you're talking about unrealistic, like the way they portrayed them in And Just Like That is the least realistic, just because of how toxic for such a long period of time.
Like, can you really change that patterning just because you get married?
Yeah. Well, and I guess that's one thing that made the relationship so interesting, was because it was so realistically toxic. You know, I feel like we all know those people.
Hey, I've been there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what about, you brought up It's Complicated?
Oh yeah, I did. I thought that's where you're headed originally. You like this movie?
I do like this movie.
It's cute. It's a cute movie. I mean that in a true compliment. Like it has such a good feel.
I mean, it's a Nancy Meyers film.
It is a Nancy Meyers movie. So why do you like the movie so much?
I mean, it's Nancy Meyers. Like it's just it's perfection. It's Meryl Streep.
Yes.
Love to see
aesthetic.
Love to see Mary Bear in a letter.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, the aesthetic. So consistent. The kitchen.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello.
Which why is she overhauling the kitchen?
I know. I'm like, that's my dream kitchen.
She had the audacity. You want to talk about audacious? She had the audacity to say, "I'll finally have a real kitchen."
I know. I'm like, I want that
me?
kitchen. It's beautiful. Love her home. Love how it's decorated. And I just love how in these Nancy Meyer films, the women are just portrayed. They're so happy within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it always begins where they're not with a man.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're single.
Yeah.
And they're just totally happy with it. And they fall into these like relationships, but they live these full lives. They have a lovely career. They have family. And it's like, you don't need a man. Yeah.
Well, and we didn't quite finish it. We still got about 40 minutes left.
Well, it was like midnight.
So I can't, this is the second time I've seen it. I can't remember. I know she doesn't end up with Alec Baldwin, right? Does she end up with Steve Martin? No. Okay.
Does she?
I don't remember. I don't remember what the end status is.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it. This will be the third time watching it. And I feel like I've seen Something's Gotta Give probably 400 times.
Yeah.
So I've definitely seen this fewer, but I just feel like it also does justice to this theme of relationship recidivism.
Yeah.
Like, is it a good idea?
And this.
And when does it end? Like, they're what, in their 50s?
It seems like they are.
It's like we're still doing this?
Yeah, it seems like they are. And, well, I mean, he's so childish.
Oh, yeah.
The Alec Baldwin
but I feel like
character.
that's so realistic because men never grow up.
Yeah. You get these little Peter Pan boys out there that just...
I can think of a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had in the movie been divorced for 10 years and start a little fling back up.
I know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it got Mary Bear out of her shell.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't condone affairs. But
yeah, because she became the other woman where he has remarried.
But I do think it was good for her. Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I had to say it.
Call me one of her friends.
Yeah.
Because like
she had him first.
He remarried with the other woman.
Yeah.
So now she's other womaning the woman who other womaned her.
I know. And obviously you have a personal vendetta against Lake Bell for
some
reason.
Yeah. I've never cared for
you don't like any of her
Lake Bear's characters.
Lake Bear.
Lake Bear.
Lake Bear. I love her. I think she's gorgeous.
I just have never seen her in anything, and I've been like, I'm really excited to watch this.
I like her.
John Krasinski, on the other hand.
Oh,
he is such a dork in this movie.
He reminds me so much of you.
Yeah. But it's perfect. It's perfect.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing better than from the moment that he's at lunch in the hotel with his wife and Alec Baldwin. Wait, they're just engaged? Oh, they're doing the wedding planner.
They're meeting the wedding planner. Have you seen this movie?
I swear I've seen this movie. But yeah, once Alec Baldwin and Meryl Streep get there and he sees her, but the daughter doesn't, from then on, he's incredible. The whole scene there, but then also whenever they're having lunch at the house and Alec Baldwin shows up and he's drinking all the wine, it's just incredible.
Oh, it's great.
Talking about Nancy Meyers, though, she's pretty phenomenal.
To say
Director,
the least.
writer.
Yeah.
So I would like to have you rank her movies. I'm about to read you. Okay.
Okay.
We'll start in order. Parent Trap. Okay. What Women Want.
See, I don't remember that movie at all. I saw it as a child, and I don't really think I liked it, but I haven't watched it.
You don't love Mel Gibson?
I don't.
Okay.
I do not.
I haven't seen a ton of Mel Gibson movies. I have a hard time picturing him in like a rom-com. Yeah.
Yeah. It was weird.
Yeah. Something's Gotta Give.
Hello.
So I feel like that right now is at the top. We'll see if anything dethrones it.
No.
The Holiday.
That's a close two. That's a
close
two.
Ooh. Yeah. So Something's Gotta Give and then The Holiday. Good. It's Complicated. Is that in third?
Yeah.
I was going to be surprised if you put It's Complicated over The Holiday.
No.
The Intern.
I don't really remember that one.
Was that was
Anne Hathaway?
Yes, and De Niro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something's gonna give. Obvious number one. The holiday. It's complicated. Parent Trap. And then.
What Women Want in The Intern.
I mean, I guess The Intern.
Yeah. Now
But those top four are really solid.
And those are what she directed. She has also written Father of the Bride.
Love those. Which you really introduced me to those.
I actually grew up. Yeah, my mom. Those are literally two of her favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, when we had you seen them before?
No.
Yeah,
that's
so
what
we
I'm saying.
watched them.
Like you introduced me.
And yeah, I can basically quote both of them.
I'd like to rewatch those. Okay, one thing about me, this is my problem. Anytime I watch a movie, I literally have like amnesia of the end. Like I have no idea what happened, which is like good though. Movie, yeah. I know, which is good though because I can watch it and I'm like, oh, I'm surprised.
Yeah, this is.
I know, but like, I remember like 3/4 of the movie, but I can never remember what happens at the end.
So we have quite the story here. So just last episode, we were listing the things that can improve our mood, right? And on my list was when Kat goes to get a manicure. Almost cherry soda lollipop in the floor.
Cherry cola.
That's a great flavor, by the way, isn't it?
Yeah. I talked about this last episode. So good.
Yeah. See, yeah. I mean, we're just bringing up a lot of things from last episode. So Kat goes to get a manicure. I go with her. I sit in the massage chair.
I was getting a gel polish change.
And it's one of my that's one of my favorite times.
Mm-hmm.
We've only been in town for how long have we been here now? 6 months.
That's what you keep saying. Yeah. So we're going with
that. So I've been doing this for 6 months, and I look forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool in there. Like I said, there's that fountain. It's very blissful. Massage chair. I look forward to it. Drop you off. Go run a couple of errands. Come back. Go to sit down. All the chairs are off. All the chairs are unplugged.
You could have said something.
So sad. And I could see. This is how my brain works. I could see the outlet. I could see the power strip where they're all plugged in. I could see it unplugged. But I was like, you know what? What if they have it unplugged for a reason?
Well, they did. And the reason was that she wanted to go when we were done. And she wanted to do that.
She was ready to hit the road.
No, well, I mean, I don't blame her. No, I used to always do that when I was the one closing.
Yeah,
get everything
the last client,
re-ready.
Yeah. But no, I was like, what if there's an electrical problem?
No, I don't think that was it.
What if I plug this in and burn the place down?
No. I mean, you could have said something if you really wanted
to. But I didn't.
Yeah, she's so nice, though.
She's great.
She's hilarious. She does not hold back when I'm trying to ask for like a certain color. Like she will give her opinion. Completely unsolicited, but I can take it. I can take the heat. But I was showing her this picture of this specific color that I wanted. Kind of like a jelly manicure. I know you don't know what that means. Like a jelly nail situation. I showed you the picture though.
Yeah.
But anyway, and she was like, oh no, honey, that's not going to look good on you.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh, okay. I was like, yeah, I don't care. Like, I don't care if it's flattering. I just want it. But yeah, she was like, no.
She was persistent.
No, like she wouldn't let me get it.
So you got something else.
I did get something else. Yeah, we were able to agree on this one.
Yeah, and it looks great.
I think it does look good.
It looks great.
It looks good. So
does she appreciate that you're able to sort of take her?
Yeah. Well, she said that she loves how laid back I am.
Oh.
I was like, I don't think anyone's ever described me like that before, but thank you.
She's
laid back.
Chill.
I know. Well, she said that she is often hesitant to give certain clients like recommendations, but she likes that I'm laid back about it. So I was like, yeah.
She always thanks me for waiting.
I know. I think that's
so
sweet.
Nice.
She's so nice. Yeah. They're all really nice in there. I love that place.
It's incredible. I look forward to going.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was so disappointed. I
know. Next time.
Yeah. Okay. So that is actually going to do it for this week. It actually feels short because last week was so long, but be sure to check us out on Spotify if you want to answer that question of the week, which this week is going to be, article about relationship recidivism.
Okay.
So go check it out and send us an answer. We haven't had an answer in a couple weeks, and I'm kind of getting
I know. Come on,
antsy,
guys. Let's be friends.
Again, I know most of you listen on Apple Podcasts, so that's okay. We like you there as well. But yeah, so check us out. Send us to somebody that you like because you like us, and that'd be awesome. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you next week.
We love you.
See you.
Mwah.